hard to believe, but here in the Ozark Mountains, in just a few short weeks, the leaves will begin their change. Following shortly after will be autumn's official arrival. Speaking with some of y'all, it sounds like you wait until at least one of these have occurred until you begin your fall/Halloween decorating. I'd like to say I possess the patience needed to do this, but I'm convinced with each year that passes, a little thinner mine gets. With that said, I seem to sneak into our autumn stash a little sooner than the season before. If the feelings are mutual and you like to absorb as much Halloween and autumn content as possible, check out the last few videos that I've done, as this certainly isn't where it all began. So every time a new season begins and it's time to dress our home accordingly, I really like to take a moment to step back and consider the season itself. I really try to take note of the first things that come to mind when thinking about it. Am I drawn to its colors? Do I like the way that it makes me feel? Are there nostalgic memories that have taken place within it? Sometimes for me, design is as simple as grouping things together that make me happy. Other times, I want to be more thoughtful about the process. I've always thought the way one decorates their home or the power of a simple seasonal change is greatly underestimated. No time of year like autumn reminds me of my mom, and by simply incorporating things that remind me of the way she decorated for this time of year, just the mere presence of them brings me back to those moments in time. While I love how it connects me to my past, I also appreciate the memories I'll carry on because of it in the future. So this year I wanted to take a little bit different approach when it came to decorating for Halloween. I wanted to figure out a way to seamlessly connect my everyday decor pieces with Halloween itself. So I'm a sucker for anything that's embroidered, especially if that's Halloween themed. The problem was anytime I came across something that was like this, it was just a bit too busy for my taste. When my mom taught me how to crochet around the age of 8, she also taught me how to cross stitch. This is something that I loved and I did quite often. As I got a bit older, I had tried my hand at embroidery. I haven't done this in quite a long time, but I thought I'd give it a try again. I simply took off my pillowcase, sketched out a spider design in pencil. They also have disappearing ink, which would probably be a better idea, but that's something I didn't have. After I did a light outline of the image that I wanted, I just kind of went to town with the embroidery needle and the thread color I had chose. I like to think of embroidery as drawing with needle and thread. I certainly lack the skills required to teach anything about embroidery. I just took the simple knowledge my grandmother taught me about sewing when I was little and applied it. So there's nothing perfect about the way this project turned out, but I had so much fun doing it. I'm also really fond of this idea because if you happen to be on a budget, this is a really great way to incorporate fall or Halloween. You could do a pumpkin, a ghost, a spider web. The options are absolutely endless. With just a cost of a tiny skein of thread, which in my case was only 60 cents, you've got a whole new decor piece. So one of the easiest ways to create a cozy atmosphere within your home is by adding layers. I mentioned this in my first few videos when we began this series. This can be incorporated through many means. For instance, if you watch the first few episodes, we added blinds, then we added textural curtains. You can see here we just added a new rug and also lots of pillows with different materials and patterns. I like to take a high-low approach when it comes to my pillows. Some of mine are made from antique rugs or vintage materials. Others are found at places like HomeGoods and Target. When I'm considering changing things up and using certain materials to do so, I like to think outside of the box. Just because something says is meant for one thing doesn't mean it can't be used for another. During special occasions, or if I happen to be feeling spicy during this fluffing process, I'll add an extra layer in the back before putting on the rest of the cushions. You can use any type of fabric for this. I've used woven tapestries. You can see here, this is one of my linen tablecloths. Really anything works. After you folded on your piece of choice to your liking, then you can add your cushions. It's a bit hard to see from this camera angle, but it's a really great way to add a really large pop of color or pattern to your room. I don't always follow this, but a good rule of thumb, if you're not quite comfortable enough with mixing patterns yourself, you can think of adding a small print, a large print, a solid, and some type of stripe. As far as colors go, choose one of your pillows that has the most color and draw your inspiration from that. Reintroduce similar or complementary colors throughout the rest of your pillows or blankets. Those of y'all who have been with us for a bit probably remember picking up some of the items that we'll be using this season. For those of you who may be new, first and foremost, we're so grateful to have you. Secondly, we've got to give you a little peek inside one of our favorite little downtown shops to purchase vintage and antique original prints. I especially like to bring our middle two kiddos with me when we go to the store. They have a really great eye, and I love incorporating some of the pieces that they find. For this last little project, we are going to make the tiniest of tablescapes to hold us over before the Halloween season begins. I'm just going to be using some dried flowers I purchased from Target and an old antique vase that I've got. And can I just say, Target has my number this year when it comes to the home decor. It's been a minute since I've purchased from them, but this year, I gotta give it to them. Having spent over a decade in the wedding business, you can say that I've put a flower arrangement together a time or two, many of which were quite extravagant, but these days I find myself leaning towards the simpler side of things. For this arrangement, I just started at the bottom and worked my way up and eventually filled in any holes where you could see the stem.